Welcome in, everybody. Let's get right into it. I've got a very special episode for us today. With me is an old college buddy of mine, Avery Tindol is in the house. Avery, what's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing great. I got a book coming out at the April 30th.
April 30th. That's
Mhm.
literally right around the bend here. And that's Hunting Snipe. For those of us who aren't sure what a snipe actually is, can you tell people what snipe is and why you chose that for the title?
Okay, so snipe hunting is kind of a tradition or a game that was made popular in the South. The basic idea is that you take a kid hunting and you tell them, "Wow, you're going to get to hunt this animal for the first time." And all you have is there's different versions of it. In my story, it's you have a bag, a trash bag, and a stick, and you go out and you make a call by banging a stick against a tree. Um, these birds are supposed to come, and you catch these birds that only fly around at night. Or so that's kind of the concept. But you bring the kid out there with the intention of leaving them out there, scaring them. Uh, Hopefully, they can grow from that in some way. Old school traditions.
I got you. Got you. So you mentioned fear and kind of scaring that kid a little bit there as a kind of
Yeah.
tradition, a little rite of passage nod,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. We deal with a fair amount of the fear of the unknown throughout this book. Is that meant to be like a foreshadowing kind of title then?
So, an important thing about the title, I do want to say that so it's important that a snipe is a bird that, or it's an animal that's a fictional animal that someone is on the hunt for. So you're not supposed to catch it. Like, but what if you find something out there that you weren't intending to find? That's
Right.
that's kind of where the first chapter takes it.
Okay. So we have a sort of marriage of finding something that we aren't supposed to find, right? The dead cattle.
Mhm.
And spoiler free interview here. But we do deal with that bit of the unknown that we do stumble upon that's not supposed to exist. It's not supposed to be real, right?
Yeah.
So we already the setup is pretty great. It's intriguing because we have that marriage of something we're not supposed to find, along with a portent of what we could be dealing with, being that part of the unknown. So that kind of leads me into the writing style of the book. Now you use a back and forth between the story of the cast of characters and some excerpts, right? You got from
Yeah. Yeah.
the USDA, from podcasts, notes from journals, and the like. My favorite is the poll from the Roseanne Barr podcast with Blair White.
Yeah.
That one took me out a little bit. It was funny to see
It's
that.
a. I don't even know how I came across that speech. I was looking up alien stuff on YouTube and I found that and I was like, oh my God, what if she was right?
Yeah, and considering who Roseanne Barr and Blair White are, like this is
Yeah.
that was I think a really nice touch. That was really
Yeah.
well done.
And I purposely picked people that would be a little controversial because I like the idea of like, oh, well, these people are crazy, but like, what if this one time they're right? And
Yeah,
that like the one time your crazy uncle is right is something I play around with in the book.
yeah. It's the Chicken Little. Alex Jones running out into the middle of the street screaming at everybody, see, I told you they're here.
Yeah.
um
Yeah,
so
exactly.
what made you choose this pretty specific kind of writing style?
Um, well, honestly, it was probably House of Leaves, just like reading that book and having all of this like my book does not do that to the extent of House of Leaves does, but just all this like extra content that could mean something or could mean nothing, or like why is it there? What is it tying into with the story? And I think that there are things in those expert excerpts that like tie in with themes that they foreshadow themes that come along later, and I just wanted to play around with that. But then oh, I was going to go into spoiler territory. Sorry.
That's all right. So yeah, really damn good digging on your part in squeezing in those excerpts and in journal notes and everything. And this isn't quite a spoiler, but there's a detail in some of those excerpts where you'd be like, oh well, this part's redacted because there's parts of the letter that was burned
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And I'm like, ooh, that's a nice touch because what the hell could have been there, right?
Yeah, that was also that's probably like where I drew the most inspiration of House of Leaves was just finding the burn stuff, the redacted stuff, the uh oh there was ink. Like I think in House of Leaves there's a part where there's like ink spilled on something and they it's covered up and it's just like, well, what did that say? What did that mean? And there were actually parts of that that I wrote that I ended up deleting. So I kind of know what's there. There is like it's not just that I stopped writing it. There's more there that's just covered up that I kind of imply later on. But I want people to draw their own conclusions. I kind of want it to be a book like that.
That I think, at least from what I've read and having my own readers' experience with this book and with a few others that are very mystery and intrigue heavy, I think that creates a pretty special investment into the work. Not just between the audience and what they're reading, but the author's communication to the audience itself. So I think that was done really really well on your part. But I don't know if it's our shared theater background or whatever, but parts of this book feel and read to me like a play. And it might just be how I envision things, but I can 100% see
Mm-hmm.
a spotlit aside downstage where someone is reading the notes or the journal passages, um, or the excerpts from like the Daily Sentinel or whatever, while everything is going on, just behind them, like a scene change or whatever.
That could be an
Did
interesting way to do it.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
did any of that because you've directed as well? Uh, did any of that kind of influence how you wrote? Because these are in between the chapters.
I would say that the my like playwriting background picked up most just in the like the podcast transcripts. I just because of that dialogue, that back and forth dialogue. And I could just focus on the dialogue and not worry about like what they were doing because we're listening to a podcast. And I don't know, that part reminded me the most of playwriting. Um, I had thought about ways to adapt it into a play, but I just not sure how you would make it work and with some elements of it, but that's a very interesting idea.
Oh, I think you can make it work. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
100%. And you could get really
Okay.
really creative and really weird with it. Like that's science fiction is not a genre that's adapted to the stage often or very well,
Right.
as far as I know.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard of it done at all.
No, I really haven't either. And that's the thing that's kind of why I'm writing more in a fiction format as opposed to a play format, is because I don't really feel like there's a lot of room for horror in theater. But maybe that can change. Who knows? I'm writing another play right now, and it's the first time I've written one in 5 years, and that's just kind of like the current project I'm working on. I have no idea how that's going to go, but I would like to see more horror in theater, more sci-fi in theater, because I think it works so well.
It certainly could.
Hmm.
Especially because it's a great marriage of form and format, where on the one hand you have the theater where we go to suspend disbelief, right? And then you have science fiction where everything's fake. You know everything's like nothing in Star Trek is real, right?
Hmm.
But you're going along for the ride.
Yeah, yeah.
So why not throw those two things together and figure out how to do it? Granted, it's kind of hard, right? It's kind of difficult to maybe have some phasers or whatever kind of weapons you're using. Uh, you might have to like sew on the inlining of some costumes, like some little red lights or whatever, to highlight wherever they get shot by a laser or something. But
Yeah.
it's doable, I think.
No, yeah, I totally think so. It's just finding the right people who want to do it.
Yeah, that's another big
Mhm.
challenge too. Um, now, speaking of our shared history, both of it, we went to SFA together, Stephen F. Austin State University, in Nacogdoches, Texas. In one of those excerpts from the Daily Sentinel, you talk about two men being fatally injured at the Kroger on North Street. Now, that's the
Yeah.
Kroger that I and a bunch of our classmates would walk to for groceries. So it was especially kind of eerie for me to read that. Like, I was like, ooh, I know where that is. Like, I have been there.
Yeah, I actually worked there over a summer, so that's why I like knew how the doors worked in that situation, and I was just like, that'd be an awful scenario to happen there. And yeah, that scene was horrifying to write because it was so vivid. Like I knew the place so well, and I see it as the place. Like when I read it again, like it's literally that North Street Kroger.
Yeah. And you also detail, like, there's a memorial for an SFA staff member. Was he anybody that we know?
I No, not that I know of. No,
Dang it.
yeah, just I could have said maybe, but I'm gonna let you down. It wasn't.
Oh, dang it.
Yeah, sorry.
So why focus on cattle mutilations? You alluded to it earlier that you had read that article back, I think, uh, what was it, last April?
Yeah, so the article came out April, and I was currently working on a short story about snipe hunting at the time, and it was a father taking his son snipe hunting, and I hadn't gotten to whatever they were going to find yet. I knew it was going to be something awful because it's one of my stories, and well, that's the news article came out about it the next morning, and I was like, oh, well, that's it. That's what they found. And these two stories just kind of converged, and it just kept running with it. And I think I finished it in October. So April to October was the writing time for this one.
Gotcha. It reminded me a lot of like the old crop circle alien abduction stories, where you got the tropes of the little gray aliens, and they would abduct farmers and farm animals and use them for experiments and things. So when I hear cattle, like mysterious cattle mutilations. That's immediately what my mind jumps to. Like it's because I was raised on Sci-Fi Channel, right? So it
Mhm.
would be those corny, straight to TV movies where you see like a really bad effect of a cow being lifted into the air.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so the interesting thing about this when the article came out, though, to me was so there have been like tons of cattle mutilation stories across the country. It's a big sci-fi conspiracy topic. Um, but the actual like sheriff's departments of these couple of counties that happened in like actually put out statements and said, yeah, these cows were the hide around their mouths were removed. It was just bone. They were like straight precision cuts, no blood, uh, no scavengers feeding on the animals. And it's like, yeah, we always hear about that stuff from like farmers who find them, but like to actually have like police departments come out and say something about it was odd. And I was like, okay, someone is going to write about this. I want to, so I'm jumping in and doing it.
Yeah, to say the least, very odd.
Mhm.
Um, now let's go on a supposed journey, a what if journey here for a second. What are the aliens? Do you think? Like what? Let's assume 1,000% they are real. They're
Mhm.
somewhere. They might not be here, but they're somewhere. What do you think they are?
Well, I think the closest like real thing that we've heard about, I reference in the book is the like Senate hearing over the UAPs. Um, I tried to play around with that idea. I think interdimensional is a possibility. I think that makes more sense than space travel, but you know, I'm open to anything. It's scarier to me not to know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's either you want to be fully in or fully out. You want to be fully ignorant and stay
Hmm.
blissful, or you want to know exactly what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
uh, just to have that veil of the unknown and have something poking at you from behind it. That's pretty scary.
Hmm. Uh, the ocean's scary. You know, there could be a lot going on in the ocean.
I mean,
Um, I think
seventy
aliens
percent.
could be in the ocean.
Yeah, 70% of the planet. That's ocean. Matter of fact, you get to a certain fathom, and you have an entire second atmosphere of pressure. So we can't go down there. There's
No.
nothing now. If something is alive down there, you have to wonder what the hell could survive 2 atmospheres worth of pressure, right? The one that we survive, and then the one that
Hmm.
the ocean at that depth puts on that kind of living organism. So that's got to be a pretty terrifying creature, even if it's completely benign and not harmful to us at all. It's still got to be scary. Like none of us is gonna come across a Komodo dragon, right? That can. I don't know if you've seen a video of this, but it is pretty wild. They can just chomp up a goat and eat it in like 4 or 5 bites whole.
Oh.
It's not deadly to us because I mean we could just like run away. It's fine. Moto dragons all day, but that's still pretty terrifying. Like
Yeah.
watching that in person.
Um, you ask me, squids, they don't belong here. That could be an alien.
Yeah,
Nothing else looks like that.
1,000%. Squids, jellyfish, uh, octopi. If you're wondering what could survive in a weird way that nothing else on the planet has evolved to survive, cephalopods, those things like that definitely seems pretty reasonable to assume those are the aliens.
That's a strong possibility.
They taste decent too. I mean, I don't know if you've had octopus lately, but
I have not. Not.
I had some for my birthday. It was
Cool, cool. I've had calamari
delicious.
before. It wasn't bad. It's
It's
different, but
yeah, it's just chewy.
Mhm.
Now,
um,
because I know you and I've done shows with you, uh, theater shows, I know at least a little bit of how you work with your characters, and I've got to see your acting and your directing process. When I read the lines of one of your characters, when I read Aaron, I could visualize you being Aaron for at least a few of the chapters. Was there any personal inspiration that went into any of these characters?
um, not yes and no. There's a little bit of my personality in all of them, but I also don't want them to look or sound like me at the same time. Aaron is a little relatable. I understand him. Like I empathize with him and what he's going through. I've met people like him in my life. His intentions are good, and he's just trying to get in the right place. But like, wow, this is not what he needs right now.
Right. Yeah, no, I can get behind that 100%. Um,
I would like to play Aaron if they ever got adapted or anything. I mean, I'd do that.
yeah, that
He is
that
a
could be
character
fun.
that I really like.
Who just out of some people that we know, just for the sake of it, who do you think could play Jeremiah?
Hmm. I mean, are we talking like people that we've done work with, or like just anyone in
Uh,
the like past?
I you know what? Just for the sake of it, let's do both.
All right. Well, if you want to play Jeremiah, I think you could do it.
That there it is. That's my shoehorn into doing the live adaptation, the stage adaptation of this.
um, I mean, if we can get it to Monkey Paw Studios, I'd love Jordan Peele to direct it.
It does sound like something that fits with the rest of his current work. I mean, it wouldn't be too far off.
No, I really loved Nope. It was I like that movie. It gets a lot of hate, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought his take on um the sci-fi tropes that he used were pretty fun. I thought he played with it pretty well. Jumping back onto the conspiracy bit, what's one or two like big conspiracies that you could not maybe not 100% believe, but you could at least like really get into?
um, I think so. October, Friday the 13th. Um, there was everybody saw what they say is now a SpaceX launch. But I swear, like right when it happened, I looked up if there was going to be a SpaceX launch, and I couldn't find anything about it. So I kind of think SpaceX is announcing things to cover up UFOs, UAPs, possibly. But who am I to say? So I made that. I had Jeremiah say that in the book once. I thought that would be fun.
That's a pretty good one, and it's
Yeah.
pretty plausible. It a thousand
Mhm.
percent could be real.
Yeah.
I'd I can't get off the pyramids. Like the pyramids, the Anunnaki, um, the tracing of the tracing of the bloodline of Jesus Christ from the Anunnaki aliens, because some people out there have theorized that he's the descendant of some alien bloodline that that eventually gets down to him. And what they try to articulate is that not only was his mother giving birth to him a virgin birth, but his mother's birth was a virgin birth as well. So it's really weird, and it's something I just recently kind of ran into and
I'll have to
broke my
check that out.
yeah, I broke my nose on this trying to trying to research it because it's some crazy stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, and I also just have like a big interest in conspiracies in general. Not even if I believe them, I think they're interesting. Like I'm a writer, so I'm trying to absorb everything, but like I think there's very plausible ones.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of really weird ones like the Anunnaki one. Um, there's also one. I used to do this thing called Conspiracy Corner, um, where I would just throw together this big conspiracy, put it against the wall, and see what parts of it were viable. Um, One of them that is pretty terrifying if it's real is the one about our government and how nefarious governments can really be, because a sort of cornerstone in science fiction is that any established government is shitty and it's eventually going to turn on its people and in some form or fashion, right? This is Soylent Green, right, where they eat people. It's uh, Big Brother. It's The Matrix. It's anything, right? Government is bad, okay, in any science fiction. So the conspiracy is that um, there will be a one world government eventually, right? But it's taking faster and faster steps to try and get there. So currently in the US, we have a whole bunch of problems, right? We have a rapid declining population. We have a a massive decrease in military enlistment numbers. We have an enormous influx of migrants coming in to the country, right? So the conspiracy is that this is how the government takes control. It sees all of these things and says, we're going to solve these problems by combining them. So the 10 million illegal immigrants that we have, you can all become American citizens tomorrow if you enlist in the military. And then it says, oh, okay, you can get that
Okay.
you can get that even faster if you have natural born children. So if you have kids here, that solves the population problem. And then they say, oh, okay, well, we're going to have COVID restriction 2.0. Doesn't matter what it is, right? It's government imposing a whole bunch of ordinances and bans and regulations and things. After COVID, I don't think a lot of people want to go through that again. So they're going to try and buck the system a little bit more. I think the government uses that new army it's got to say, okay, well, we're going to make you. Because the whole idea of the American military never being able to turn on its people is that it's made up of its people, right? My buddy Jeremy, who's at Fort Cavazos, he's not going to take his troops over here to College Station and occupy it, right? Because we're friends, we're neighbors, right? But if you order an army of people who are not neighbors, who just became American citizens yesterday, they won't have any ethical or moral qualms about doing that. right? Now, again, conspiracy. I don't believe any of this is actually going to happen. I'm saying the dominoes are there, and it's pretty real, those dominoes, and it's really scary.
Yeah, that I mean, yeah, I don't know much about that, but that does sound scary. I mean, it's definitely like the basis of like apocalyptic sci-fi fiction, and just getting to that point, like it's fear can inspire some good stories.
Yeah, for for sure it can. I mean, look at the front of your book. Speaking of fear
Oh, this is
inspiring good stories. Yeah. Yeah. I do like that cover.
thank you. I found an author, or I found an artist online that did it. He did a really good job. Like I was very specific about like the details of the first scene of the first like chapter, and I was just like, I just want to make sure there's no AI used, and he covered it and like made every single detail change. He really nailed it. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Um, Speaking of fear inspired stories, have you seen Fallout yet?
I'm on episode 4. I think it's really good.
Oh man, it's pretty damn good. Did
Yeah.
you?
My wife plays all the games. She's played all of them, and she really wants me to play New Vegas. And I've played just like the first like chapter of it, but I think after watching the show, I'm gonna pick it up and jump into it.
Yeah, I think that show. I think Amazon Prime and the studios did a pretty damn good job of it. Um, Especially with the cast that they had, right? Because it was a pretty
Oh
killer
yeah,
cast.
Walton Goggins is incredible. I want him to play the Man in Black when Mike Flanagan does the Dark Tower series.
That would be damn near perfect.
He's the perfect Man in Black. Said it here
Is
first.
is there going to be a Dark Tower series?
From what I've heard, Mike Flanagan has the rights to adapt it and has been writing it. Stephen King has approved like the first season of it, and it's like, yeah, this is good. And he's just looking for a home for it. As from what I've heard, I think that's the current like status of it.
Oh man, that would be huge. That would blow a
Yeah,
bunch of
Mike
things
Flanagan's
out
the
of the
right guy to
water.
do it.
Yeah, 100%. Um, so I have this idea that because of the success of things like Fallout, The Last of Us, The Witcher, House of Dragon, all of these stories that are either coming from a video game franchise or they're spin-offs, they're original stories, but they're adapted from something. I think we're going to see a new wave over the next 5, 6 years of shows that are like that are coming from established stories like Fallout, like Bioshock, maybe, or Red Dead Redemption. If
I'd
we got
love to
a
see that.
oh, if we got a Red Dead Redemption or a Metal Gear Solid franchise like show, whoa, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
So I'll see you at
and
auditions.
Red Dead is such a good story. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, and it took me forever to complete the story of Red Dead 2 because I just wouldn't do it. I would just run around and kill
do
people and
everything else.
yeah, I've I can't tell you how many sheriff's posses I've evaded and died to.
Yeah.
I figured out really quickly that if you're being chased by a posse and you kill one of them and then you try and run away, the game just surrounds you and doesn't let you go. It was really fun.
Yeah, no, it's a great game. It's for sure my favorite game. I'm pretty sure I could say.
That's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, Red Dead 2 is just it's just so solid. The story, it's the story itself is just great on its own without any of the amazing gameplay that comes with it. Just what a good story.
Now, something else that's going to be coming out here pretty soon is the DLC for Elden Ring. Are you a big Elden Ring guy?
I don't really know anything about it. Sorry.
No, it's cool. Have you played any Dark Souls games? Because it's a pretty niche thing.
No, I'm not sure if Taylor, my wife, has or not either, but she's really more of the gamer. I've only played like a few things. I played The Last of Us. I really like The Last of Us. The gameplay in the second one was really, really good.
Yeah, 100%. Well, if I could recommend a game, it would definitely be Elden Ring. It is
Okay.
beautifully made. It's gonna piss you off immediately. I
Cool.
promise you, because it parks a boss level enemy like right out the starting area that you can't. There's no way that you can be able to beat it. But just like any other idiot, you're gonna run right up to it and try to bonk it, and
Hmm.
it's gonna take you out in one hit. Um, so I definitely recommend Elden Ring. Um, but that is about our time here, Avery. Uh, where can people find your book?
Okay, so it's going to be available on Amazon April 30th. You can get the paperback and the Kindle version there, or you can order it directly from my website, which is tyndallbooks.myshopify.com, and I can get you a signed copy there if you want a signed copy of it.
Ooh.
Um, so those are the options. I'm also going to be at the Boss Light on the 27th, which is a bookstore in Nacogdoches that we went to. They're gonna have like a they're there for Independent Bookstore Day. They're gonna have like a book signing thing there for me. I'll be there talking about the book, sign copies, chatting with people. I'm not sure if the podcast will even be out by then, but just wanted to plug it just in case.
Oh no,
Um,
it'll be out tomorrow. Don't worry about that.
oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, so check it out on Amazon or at my website that I mentioned, and
All right.
I hope you like it.
Well, I know I did, so I'm pretty sure everybody out there will as well. It's a really well put together story, some pretty compelling characters. Um, it's a relatable story, at least for part of it. Right, the first couple of chapters are really relatable. I know for uh, a lot of people uh, out in East Texas who are familiar with snipe hunting or maybe the cattle mutilation stories. Um, so I think it's got a really wide ranged audience. Everybody from, those East Texas good old boy folk to some pretty hardcore sci-fi fans. So I think just about everybody can enjoy this. But that is all the time that we have for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stick around for more Sci-Fi Unchained. But for now, live long and prosper, my friends, and may the force be with us all.